I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. Why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? If I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh my goodness.
She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement.
Your reaction to what we saw.
My reaction is that it was a complete, absolute dumpster fire.
Well, that went well, huh? About as well as one would expect, considering the subject in discussion here once claimed his stock with black voters only rose after becoming a convicted felon.
Well, I think that what the questioners were transposing was the sentiment that a majority of black Americans feel towards former President Donald Trump. This is somebody whose overtures to the black community have consisted of things like, you know, I'm in the sneaker business and they'll love that. Or I have more convictions now that I'm a felon, maybe blacks will like me more. So I understand the standoffishness, and I think it's great that he went and did it and that people could see it unfiltered, how he actually thinks about these issues, how he thinks about his own record, how he talks about other black Americans. That's all crucial for this audience to see.
Within mere seconds of Donald Trump taking his seat on stage, the former president began fighting and arguing with moderators Wednesday during an appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists Conference, taking issue with questions while saying with a full chest that he was the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Yes, that's right, folks. The man who once took out a full-page ad calling for the execution of wrongfully accused black teens wants to insert himself in the same conversation as the president that ended slavery.
And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
But if you think that wasn't bad enough, take a gander at his answer to a question regarding Kamala Harris's race.
Then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman.
I respect
she went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that she is...
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans have said?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Could be.
Now, you see, Donald, believe it or not, people can be mixed race. Now, not many at your rallies are. They often bear stark resemblance to the amount of melanin seen at the Cornhole Championships. Wonder his team pulled the plug early.
In your job.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, I feel the need to give him any credit for showing up there, because he came with a terrible attitude. He hit all of his regular hits, lying about his record for Black Americans. The comparison saying he's done the most for the Black community since Abraham Lincoln is obviously ridiculous. Unemployment is lower for Black Americans under Joe Biden than Donald Trump. Everybody knows that. Even Donald Trump knows that. People have told him. He just won't stop. I thought that he was rude and offensive to the questioners. I don't think, in response to what Joe was saying, that asking him, for instance, about calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire is going into debate mode. This is who his opponent is. And then his response that she used to be Indian and is now somehow Black was offensive no matter the color of their skin.
All right, look, she has an Indian mother and a Jamaican father.
Right,
I don't know why we have to.
But
She has an Indian mother and a Black father. So those are two different backgrounds. You know, this is, I just want to back up for a second here.
In response to this utter train wreck, Kamala Harris issued this statement, calling back to how, quote, Trump lobbed personal attacks and insults at Black journalists the same way that he did during his presidency.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying
I don't know why you'd
that
say
the
that. It's such a racist
There are
question.
some people.
The same thing with April Ryan. I watch her get up. I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Are
you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional
Well,
Hispanic
I would.
Caucus?
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of yours?
I'm just a reporter.
Before reiterating how, quote, Trump's tirade is simply a taste of the chaos and division that has been a hallmark of Trump's MAGA rallies. And ended with a nod to him being the scaredest of alley cats, calling for him to stop playing games and show up to the debate December 10th. Now, here's the thing about this, right? This NABJ interview is a great example of why the people who demand that we deplatform Trump or starve him of oxygen are flat out wrong, in my opinion. Now, I'll always look for more pushback, more accountability, more fact checks in real time. But people need to see this, right? They need to see him out of his comfort zone, a dated used car salesman attacking people's character as a smokescreen for the gaping holes in his own, unable to actually answer for his track record in an environment that isn't Fox News.
Interviewing President Trump on stage. Sandra, some interesting questions, an interesting dynamic there as well, not only with the questioners, but the crowd.
Yeah, really interesting. Well, I'm sure a lot of people stopped to watch that. Our own Harris Faulkner on the stage there, getting some questions into the former president as well. And it appears, John, the White House is already responding to an exchange that happened there on that stage. The White House saying that the comments that the former president made on Kamala Harris's racial identity are insulting, is what we have just gotten in from the White House as the briefing was ongoing with Karine Jean-Pierre just a short time ago.
As a person of color, as a Black woman who is in this position that is standing before you at this podium behind this lectern, what he just said, what you just read out to me is repulsive, it's insulting, and, you know, no one has any right to tell someone who they are, how they identify. That is no one's right. It is someone's own decisions. It is, I'll add this. Only she can speak to her experience. Only she can speak to what it's like. She's the only person that can do that. And I think it's insulting for anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a former leader, a former president. It is insulting. And we have to put, she is the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. We have to put some respect on her name.
But I guess if there's one more thing we learned outside of the fact that, yeah, he's bigoted, it's how he really feels about his choice for VP.
J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick.
Caught up on this latest appearance by Donald Trump, but one of the things I saw was he was asked about J.D. Vance, and if I understand right, his answer was basically to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter that much to the outcome of the campaign, who you pick for VP, which means it did not occur to him to even pretend to be interested in the impact of the vice presidential choice on the country. It's one of the most serious, in fact, the most serious choice that a candidate makes as a candidate, because it's the one thing that goes into effect for the entire country automatically if that candidate gets elected. And yet, as somebody who's just incapable of thinking or caring about the rest of the country and about how elections affect our lives, I think it's very telling that when he got a question about the embarrassments that have been caused by his own choice for running mate and VP in J.D. Vance, he didn't even try to defend what kind of vice president he would be for the country or whether he would be ready on day one. Instead, just talked about it completely in terms of politics. Of course, the politics of this aren't that great for him either.
And this is why he continues to run from the topic of debating Kamala Harris, right? He knows that this here would be a good day compared to how that debate would go.
Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.